Good morning, everyone. A federal government shutdown and healthcare is at the center of negotiations. The head of a Massachusetts medical school is here to talk about it and other funding cuts. Let's go on the record.
From WCVB Channel 5, the inside word from Washington to Beacon Hill. Today's newsmakers are going on the record.
Hello, everyone. Happy October. Welcome to On the Record. I'm Ed Harding.
And I'm Jessica Brown. Joining us today is Dr. Michael Collins, the chancellor of UMass Chan Medical School. He has served in that role for more than 17 years. Dr. Collins also holds the title of the senior vice president for the health sciences at the University of Massachusetts. Thank you so much for joining us.
Nice to be with you.
Great to see you, Doctor. Thanks for your time. So let's break down. Let's start with the federal government shutdown. Congress has failed to reach a deal on funding. They failed last week. So at the heart of the argument is healthcare tax credits. And those subsidies help low and middle income people through the Affordable Care Act. So they are slated to expire at the end of this year. Democrats insist they should be extended. Republicans say that those negotiations can happen after the government is actually funded. The Trump administration has already cut healthcare research grants, which impacts UMass Chan, right?
Indeed it does.
Unquestionably. So how does the shutdown add to your list of concerns already?
Well, I think that the principal thing it does is add enormous uncertainty to what has been an incredibly uncertain time for us. So going back till right after the administration came in place in January and early February, there's been great concern throughout the research community that there's a reordering of priorities, an unwillingness to fund grants the way they had been funded in the past, the desire to change the way that institutions that provide research are funded. But most importantly, what it's done is to bring great uncertainty into young people's minds, into our faculty minds, and those who actually do the research. Look, the bottom line for Massachusetts is that research is like the foundation of the economy.
Everything is built on that.
It is built on that. And hundreds of thousands of workers, billions of dollars of revenue, just from the NIH alone last year, nearly $3.5 billion in research to our institution, around $350 million. And now when those monies become at risk, and when the folks who have committed their career to do research now wonder whether their grants are going to be funded or whether they're going to come forth, or whether they're going to actually be able to make a discovery that's going to change the course of history of disease, that all becomes at risk.
So while the shutdown continues, the National Institutes of Health cannot approve any grant applications,
Correct.
right? So how big a deal is this in the timing of these things?
Well, it's a big deal. So our faculty have a big deadline this week, and they have to fulfill the deadline. So they've been working now for weeks to get their grants in place. Yet they know that nobody will be there to read the grant. They know that a grant that has received the approvals of the NIH won't be funded because there won't be anybody there to say the final approval is done. They know that if they have a no-cost extension, which means you have a bit more work to done and there's still money left in your grant, they know that can't get approved. And so what's happening is it's uncertainty just at everywhere you turn. And I would think that, that people who, if you just think about it a minute, there's just no family that isn't affected by cancer or by ALS or a respiratory disease. And now we're saying to those who have committed their life to actually find the diseases or the drugs, I think something like, of the last 354, I think it might have been 6 drugs that have been approved by the FDA, only one less than that, 355. Every one of those drugs had research money from the NIH involved in it. And here we are on the precipice of so many discoveries, and we are stalling the funding of research.
Let's talk more about the Trump administration cuts to the NIH, right? So at stake for UMass Chan, hundreds of research grant proposals we know, and billions or millions, I should say, of dollars. These grants are essential for you. What's been your reaction to what is happening at the federal level at this point?
My reaction has not been good, to be quite honest with you. My children say to me all the time, he wasn't angry, he was just disappointed. And I'm going to tell you, I am mightily disappointed. I am mightily disappointed because research funding has been more than a 60-year commitment, both ways, between the federal government and educational and healthcare institutions. There's been this commitment. And now that commitment has been put almost totally at risk. And now look, there is still money.
Necessarily or unnecessarily?
I think unnecessarily. So look, let's cut some slack here, and let's just say a new administration wants to come in and reorder some priorities and think different. Okay, so we'll say fine. We'll give them that opportunity. But this has now been 6 or 7 months. The monies are not flowing. We have scientists. Get this now. We have scientists who are close to making a discovery. They need to use the cell lines, okay? But the funding to actually do the work is not there. And so they call and they say, Chancellor, what am I going to do? This research has to be done by a certain period of time, or I'm going to lose years of research. And this is, you ask, what's the impact? The impact is this is across the research enterprise, bringing enormous uncertainty at a time when none of this is necessary.
And pausing things in their tracks, pretty much.
Pausing it.
Big picture here, not just for UMass. How will this impact the future of healthcare research overall?
Well, I think it will start. We could lose a generation of scientists if this goes on. Why? Because we have the youngest people who would love to go into science now questioning whether that's the right thing to do. And I don't know if people know, but we had to rescind admissions for some of our graduate students, as now many institutions have done, because we weren't sure that there were going to be grants for those young people to work on when they got to the point that that was to occur. We have early junior faculty who have now made their commitment, finished their PhD, come to the institution. We have committed funds to them. And now they say, geez, will I be able to get a grant when it's time for me to, time for my grant to be reviewed? And then we have very senior faculty who would typically have 4 or 5 grants and things would be working great, who now have 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 in some instances held up in the administrative morass that exists. And so at every level within the academy and in our teaching hospitals, there is concern.
So we all know that Massachusetts is a healthcare hub. Education, health services, the state's biggest economic driver. So how do you see this not just impacting healthcare, but impacting communities as a whole?
It's certainly impacting the community and the communities throughout the central part of Massachusetts. UMass Chan Medical School brings over $2 billion of economic community to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Now, if we have limited research funding, what do? We stop food. We stop events. We stop travel. We have furloughed. We've had to let go over 200 people. This then has a ripple effect all the way throughout the community. We're not able to participate in fundraising things, and frankly, the morale is challenged.
Well, and look what that does. If you talk about the ripple effect, you were just talking about how it affects the young generation that's moving into this. People are going to think, well, why am I going to move to Massachusetts? Why am I going to come here? You know, so it even goes even deeper into the roots like that.
Well, I think that one of the realities that all of us can be very proud of in the Commonwealth is that NIH funding is a meritocracy, if you will. Maybe that's a big word, but what it means is best grant wins. And over $3.5 billion of grants came to Massachusetts last year, the largest amount per capita, for a reason. We have the best scientists, we have the best institutions, we have the best facilities. Now, if you look at what spurs out from that, we have the best medical device companies, we have the best drug companies. Look at what's been built in Kendall Square. Look at what's done in the biotech park up by the medical school in Worcester. All of that now becomes at risk because the target one of our faculty members discovered today becomes the drug that the company licenses tomorrow, or the device that then actually allows people to make diagnoses earlier, to treat diseases better. And without that, the whole thing just falls down.
Wow. You know, Governor Maura Healey has proposed hundreds of millions of dollars to help research universities. She's calling the aid package DRIVE, that stands for Discovery, Research, and Innovation in a Vibrant Economy. It includes $400 million. Well, the legislature still needs to take it up, right? Well, there is one pot of money here, and there are federal cuts to lots of industries. Why do you think this needs to be front and center on Beacon Hill?
Well, I think we're very fortunate to have a governor who gets it. She understands the importance of science. I think it's been so important that we have a legislature that understands the importance of the economy of Massachusetts and how eds and meds, if you want to call it that, play a role in that. Why? Because we need a bridge to more stable funding. And so if I'm just looking as a governor or a member of the legislature to say, we don't want to destroy the greatness that has been built within the Commonwealth, and we commit a certain amount of monies for right now as a bridge to more certain funding from the NIH, more exclamation points from the Congress that say we want $48 to $50 billion of research to be funded. I think that the initiative that they've put in place will allow us to have a bridge to that point so that we can assure that the very fabric of our research enterprises are not destroyed. Now, every institution is going to have to put up a little bit, okay? We think it's very important, and which is why we've been working so hard with the governor and the legislature. We think it's very important that the Commonwealth partner with us to protect the greatness that we've built here.
Dr. Collins is in the chair. We're on the record. Stay with us.